Joe, welcome back to the Mea Culpa podcast. Let me ask, I got to just begin by asking you, because I know that you were extremely active, you were extremely vocal during this past, let's say, year or so on behalf of the Kamala Harris campaign. The first question that I want to ask is, what do you think that Democrats did wrong? I mean, being a Republican yourself and a former Republican member of Congress, what do you think that went wrong here? Because all I heard day in and day out, was that this campaign was being run flawlessly. And you know that we had multiple conversations, some that turned out not to be so jovial, where I had said, I think that they're fucking up. I think that their messaging is wrong. You've heard me on television sort of question Jamie Harris and the DNC's continuous ignoring of certain very important issues. I want to ask you, what do you think went wrong here?
Well, and Michael, always good to be with you, my friend and brother. Look, who deserves the primary responsibility for putting a lawless, un-American psychopath back in the White House? The people who voted for him. They're at the top of the list. But here's the deal. The Democratic Party did make a number of mistakes. Just logistically, Michael, I place a lot of blame at Biden's feet. Biden should have got out a lot longer. Biden, after they won the midterms, Biden should have come out and said, you know what? I'm going to keep to my pledge, my promise. I'm a one-termer on the bridge. Have at it, Democrats. And Democrats would have had a normal 2-year primary. He stuck around too damn long. I thought Kamala Harris generally ran a pretty decent campaign. I quibbled with her about one thing. I wish she had gotten out there right away, gone on Joe Rogan, gone on Hannity, gone everywhere from day one and take questions from all comers. But generally, I think she ran a pretty good campaign. I think the difference is this, Michael. Working class, regular Americans, they were the voters, and they picked a demagogue who lies to them over a political party that has ignored them and dismissed them. That, to me, was the tale of the tape.
Yeah, I've heard people describe it, and I can't disagree, that this entire election was about groceries and gasoline.
No.
That the common man and woman are suffering. That 75% of the country believe that the economy is the reason that Donald Trump won the election with a very simple, and I don't know who actually came up with that slogan, Trump will fix it.
Yeah. Michael, I would add to you, this election was about immigration, crime, and the economy. Immigration, crime, and the economy. What do regular working class white, black, and brown people care about? Damn it, these migrants all over the country, an open border, there's crime on the streets, and shit costs too much. I think all of that, right, was one big cauldron that was like flaming up everybody. And Trump's a demagogue, and he lies to them, right, that they're eating cats and dogs and they're committing crimes on your streets, all bullshit, all dangerous lies. But Michael, the Democratic Party ignored this problem for so long. Joe Biden gets elected. He said, I'm going to be the opposite of Trump. He encourages migrants to come. For 3.5 years, he ignored the problem. And so by the time the election came around, I think that die was cast. And Trump could run on immigration, crime, and the economy. Joe Biden, for 4 years, Michael, never explained what you just said. That, damn it, this is going to be tough coming out of COVID. We've recovered better from COVID than any other industrialized nation on the planet. But Biden could never communicate that.
It's funny you say that, because my mom, who I consider to be a benchmark for whether I'm doing things right or wrong, turned around and said that she saw me when I was on the BBC. And that's when I saw you. I bumped into you along with Olivia Troy. one of the things that I said there is you need to understand simple economic principles of supply and demand as it related to price for gasoline. COVID, the supply was high, the demand was low because nobody was driving anywhere as a result of COVID. And so the price goes down. It's called the economy, stupid, but nobody wanted to talk about it. They never messaged it. And when I reached out to people like a TJ Ducklow or the people over at the campaign, they basically told me to fuck off, that, you play your part. We did not have a concerted message the way that Donald Trump does, which is every single day, every single one of you, here are your talking points. And this is the only thing that I want you to talk about. Don't talk about anything other than what's here. And I want you to use the same buzzwords. So the same people who are listening in that ecosphere are hearing the same words from not 5 people, the Joe Walshes, the Mike Cohens, the Olivia Troys, but from 1,000 different people across the board. That to me was genius. That's the genius of Trump's marketing.
What? Yes, yes, yes. But Trump had that opening because Biden was AWOL. Let's be honest, Michael. Joe Biden has had a very successful presidency.
Yeah.
Joe Biden cannot and has not been able to communicate. We went 4 years without a bully pulpit. If Joe Biden, Michael, had come out the day after he got elected, the day after he was sworn in, and he said what you just said, and he told the American people the day after he got sworn in, you know what? We're coming out of a once-in-a-lifetime health crisis, a pandemic. The supply chain is all messed up. Our economy the next 3 years, this is going to be a bumpy ride, man. Here's what it's going to look like, man. We're all in this together. And if Biden had done that, and then every quarter had a fireside chat with the American people and told the American people how our economy's doing and listened to them, we would have been in a much different place. The American people didn't understand because Biden never explained it to us because he was incapable of explaining it to us because he's too old and he couldn't communicate. That's why.
Yeah.
It wasn't Kamala Harris's fault.
I want to spend the bulk of our hour together here, and I want to kind of talk to you about where we are as a country, where you think we're going to be over the course of the next 4 years. I am desperately trying to remain hopeful. I put optimism all the way to the side. I want to remain hopeful. And as we start to see the people that Trump is choosing within which to be in his administration, I want to sort of touch on them before I finally hit you with the ultimate question. So I want to begin with, say, Marco Rubio, who was appointed as Secretary of State, a position that he sought in 2016, right? Of course, was not given it. I'm curious how you see his approach to foreign policy, given that his history of strong stances on Cuba and Venezuela, right? That we're going to see a much harder approach, for example, towards Latin America under his leadership, because that's what Trump wants. And it's not just Latin America, it's going to be all across the globe. How do you think that this will resonate with the GOP base?
Well, Michael, I'll just say this, unless you know something I don't know. I don't think Rubio is official yet, correct? Like that was
correct. Nobody has been confirmed, but I believe he's been nominated by Trump to be his Secretary of State.
The Rubio name was leaked. And I think one of the reasons it was leaked, Michael, goes to what you're saying. Trump's hardcore base doesn't like Rubio. Trump's hardcore base is isolationist. Marco Rubio is the closest you're going to find to a neocon. Marco Rubio is let's flex American muscle all over the world. That is the antithesis of Trump's base. That's also the antithesis of what, Trump has said he is. And you and I know Trump doesn't have a core philosophy, but the Rubio pick kind of goes against, in a lot of ways, where Trump is politically. I've heard from a lot of people in Trump's base who are really pissed off about this pick. So I wouldn't be surprised, Michael, if we find out in a few days it's not Rubio. I don't know, but Rubio goes against Trump's isolationist base.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I have a YouTube channel, The Michael Cohen Show, where I said, there's no way in the world that he's going to accept Marco Rubio in his administration. He doesn't like him. Personally, he doesn't like him. They are actually very different, as you just stated, in terms of their policies and how that they want to treat, this issue of foreign diplomacy. I was shocked too when I saw that this leak came out.
Well, Michael, you know Trump better than anybody. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump leaked it just to see how his base would respond. Who knows?
Or more, to give Rubio like this sort of elation that he's going to be Secretary of State, just to kick the fucking chair out from underneath his feet and watch him go splat. Because Marco Rubio, amongst other people, have said some of the most horrific things about Trump going back into 2016. Trump called Rubio corrupt. I remember that ad in 2015, 2016 about Marco Rubio being a thief and being corrupt and so on. And some of the things Rubio said about Trump. It's almost like all of the people that they're kind of like bringing in have said very vile things about Trump in the past. And, where, they were constantly attacking, including his own vice presidential nominee, or vice presidential elect, where he called him America's Hitler. So I was actually surprised, but Donald actually really doesn't like Marco Rubio as an individual. So I was blown away when his name was put out there.
But Michael, Trump loves when people grovel and admit they were wrong about him. And the last 2 or 3 years, Marco Rubio has been a total Trumpist. Mm-hmm. So Trump likes people who were critics, and now they love him. So maybe, but boy, I'll tell you what, he's not where Trump is on foreign policy.
Not in the slightest, but you know who actually is? Tom Homan, who was selected as the border czar. I mean, this is significant, especially given Homan's past as the acting director of ICE under Trump. I want to say this also about all of the people that Trump has so far appointed to be part of his cabinet and his administration. They are all central casting. Tom Homan's a big son of a bitch, that big sort of burly former New York police officer. Guy doesn't give a shit about anything. You think that Homan's focus on mass deportation and expanding the border wall will be the center of Trump's immigration policy? Or do you think that we'll see a more nuanced approach to border security, particularly in the wake of this 2024 election?
Well, the other thing, Michael, that every nominee, everybody who's going to work for him, the number one job requirement is absolute fealty to Trump. I mean, you have to bow and bow at his feet more than you have to be loyal to him. That comes first and foremost. That's more important than anything. I go both ways on Homan, and I go both ways on this deportation thing. Half of me, Michael, thinks it's going to be like Trump. I'm going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it, which was all bullshit. He built about 2 feet of new wall, and Mexico never paid for the 2 feet of new wall. It was all just a gimmick. It was all just marketing. So here's Trump again, taking advantage of an issue like immigration, saying, I'm going to deport 15 to 20 million people. Bullshit. He won't. I think what he'll end up doing is deporting. Over the next few years, he'll deport maybe 200 of the worst criminals who are in this country illegally. And that will be it. That's half of what I think, because it's all just kind of marketing. It's not real. He never built the wall. So part of me thinks it's the same thing. But then the other part of me, Michael, thinks he's really going to do it. But see, the American people, Michael, are so stupid. Obama deported 3.5 million people. He deported more people than Trump deported in 4 years. Joe Biden has deported as many people as Trump deported in 4 years. So this kind of thing always goes on. But somehow Trump will spin it like he's doing something no one else has ever done.
Right. You want my take on this?
Yes. Damn it.
He goes balls to the wall on this. This is a hot topic. And in all fairness, it's an easy topic. He's going to go after the low-hanging fruit.
Worst of the worst.
Okay? No. Hear me out on this one. I believe on day number one of the things that he does is they send some buses, they send some planes, they go after all the folks that are right now in the hotels or in areas that they know where they're at. Has nothing to do with whether they're the criminals or not. They're the ones that they already know where they're at. They're in the hotels and so on, like New York, California, Texas, all over the country. The ones that they specifically know where they are. They're going to start getting some buses, school buses, driving them to the airport. For all you know, Elon Musk already bought a whole bunch of used and old 757s. They're going to put a bunch of plastic chairs on them. Maybe there'll be like former FedEx planes and shit like that. Fly them over to Mexico, fly them over to San Salvador, wherever it is that they're going to take them to. Turn around and call the country and say, we just brought your people back. Have a nice day. Plain and simple. That's the low. And he'll do 1 million people. No bullshit. He'll get 1 million people in probably the first 6 months. And then he's going to go on television, and every single day you're going to see bus, airport, plane, landing. They're going to videotape the shit out of it. They're going to make this into I agree with that. Some sort of an act that has never been done before.
Agreed. But Michael,
by the way, he's not wrong.
I agree with all of that. And it's all about the pictures. He wants to create this image, but there are 15 to 20 million estimates of people in this country illegally. You don't think he's going after most of them. Remember, in his first term, he deported about 1.5 million. Biden's deported 1.5 million. Obama deported 3.5 million. He's got to do more than that.
Trump will do that 1.5 million in the first 6 months, and then they're going to ramp it up. I don't believe that they're going to be able to go after those that are born in America because the parents are no longer, or the parents came here illegally. Those, I think, would ultimately be the last, but that term will run out. He will deport millions.
How many?
Of people.
In 4 years? How many? You and I are talking in 4 years. How many did he deport?
How many will he deport?
How many will he deport 4 years from now when you and I are chatting?
Between 6 to 7 million.
Well, if that's true, that's a huge number. But if that's true, Michael, that means finding some really hard to find ones in businesses and homes and yanking them out of here.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of people, and Tom Homan looks like he's the kind of guy that is more than happy to start going door to door, knocking. It reminds me like in the movie Inglourious Bastards. They're going to start knocking on doors to door. They're going to start using things like, work, the work permits and so on. And they're going to also be asking the American people, if you know that there is a group of illegal immigrants, contact Tom Homan, contact the office at 1-800, fuck you, right? By the way, that works, FUCKYOU, and so on. And let's say, fuck you to illegal immigration. That's what I'm telling you. That's what he's going to do.
Michael Cohen, my friend and brother, let's say that plays out as you think it will, and 6 to 7 million people in this country illegally are yanked out of here. Does that help Trump or hurt Trump politically?
It
I
helps
think
him.
it hurts him.
I think it helps him. It helps him because he got elected on this illegal immigration, on the migrant issue. And if he's able to say, listen, this is massive, I'm cleaning up Joe Biden's mess, I'm cleaning up, the Barack Obama mess, I'm cleaning up years and years of this. You know
Except
what?
for his
I
4 years.
did. Of what he'll never acknowledge that, right? And so I did more in 1 year than all three of them combined in their 12-year period. You know what I mean? And so he'll take it as a win. But I want to move on. And I want to talk about another person who absolutely looks the part. And I'm curious because I know that you've probably worked with her in the past, Susie Wiles as chief of staff. I've met Susie in the past, and I think it was her daughter as well. She's probably one of the few picks that I say can actually do a really good job as chief of staff. She's incredibly organized. Obviously she was very central to this campaign, but having worked on both the 2016 and in Florida politics, how do you think that she's going to balance the internal dynamics of Trump's administration? You think that she'll push for a more disciplined White House, or will the chaotic, unorthodox style continue to define his presidency?
Let me just briefly say this, then we'll go to Susie Wiles. If Trump deports 6 to 7 million people, I think it hurts him politically, because even though everybody says immigration, 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 you put a face on these people. We don't know who these people are. They do all these jobs in this country that we don't appreciate. It'll impact the economy. I'm just saying, I think that would hurt him politically. Susie Wiles. I think it's a great pick. I don't think it'll make a damn bit of difference because Trump is who he is. Look, she's great. And she can handle Trump pretty damn well. But look at the campaign Trump ran. Again, the last few weeks, we talk about how, I don't know if you believe this, Michael, look at all the stupid ass shit Trump was saying the last month. The campaign ran a good campaign. Trump didn't run a good campaign. Trump didn't do and say the things he was told to say. He almost lost it. They thought they were losing. Trump's closest advisors thought these last few weeks they were losing this thing because you can't keep Trump disciplined. Having said all of that, she's a great pick because she knows how to take the good and the bad and as best as she can squeeze some of the good out of that.
Yeah. The biggest problem that she's going to have is one that I know that Reince Priebus, who developed the nickname while he was chief of staff, even before that, as Rancid Penis. The internal conflicts and the backstabbing amongst these individuals that all think that they're Donald Trump 2.0s, they're all going to be at her. And it's very difficult. It's one thing if there's discipline around you. You're talking about a group of cowboys. Each one, Donald told me I don't need to make an appointment to come in to see him. It's an open door policy. I watched it myself. It's an open door policy in the White House when it comes to Trump.
Michael, he's chaotic and he's crazy and he's incompetent. And he has a history, yourself excluded, of hiring bad people who reflect him. So yeah, it's going to be an absolute mess. I think it's impossible to be Trump's chief of staff. Impossible.
Well, look, I appreciate the trying to, distinguish me from others.
I do.
But,
I do.
I was the epitome of the loyalist. I wasn't bullshitting when I had said in the past that I would have taken a bullet for him. I would have. By the way, I would have proudly taken that bullet for him, but for one condition. He's the guy pulling the trigger. Yeah. That to me was just the only part that was unacceptable. Yeah. If it was you pulling the trigger or somebody else, okay, I'll survive it. It'll hurt, but I'll survive it. Not him. Yeah. Not him. That was too emotionally for me. that was too much. And then when I started seeing the damage that it was causing to my wife and to my children, I was saying to myself, one thing I'm not going to allow. I said it to Stephanopoulos right before, I ended up testifying before the House Oversight Committee, that I wasn't going to allow history to remember me as the villain of his story. And the sickest thing is all of this could have been avoided under so many different scenarios. But again, chaos and people whispering into his ear what to do. That to me is what I think Susie Wiles is going to be up against. And that is a daunting fucking task.
Michael, I need to say this. And I know this is me stroking you, but the reason I always distinguish you is you reformed yourself. You got right. Damn near everybody who works for and with him doesn't. You saw the light and eventually you said, I can't go there. That's why I distinguish you.
Appreciate that. So I want to talk about the next pick. And this one I had called, again, on my YouTube channel, The Michael Cohen Show. I called this a long time ago. Alina Habba as press secretary. It is a perfect pick. Everybody, as I had said early on, it's central casting. Her looks, she's mouthy. She will fight tooth and nail. She will stay on his message and never deviate. She has really learned the art of Trump very, very well. As a lawyer, I'm thankful that they weren't thinking about her as Attorney General, right? Or something like that. But press secretary, perfect pick. Better than Kellyanne Conway. She's the exact opposite of Sean Spicer, who was just bumbling and babbling and had his own things he wanted to say. She will be a perfect messenger for him. She is a combative style, right? She is known as a fierce defender. She will again stay on his message. So my question to you is, how do you think that she's going to handle questions regarding, let's just say, for example, the numerous ongoing legal challenges facing Trump, or any of the questions that the press will be asking her? Lumen, it's the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs, and it gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do, this is crazy, all you do is you breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for the day, and that's based on the measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after your workouts and your meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Look, let me be clear about this. Who isn't looking for some advantage today to get the most out of the little time that we have to take care of ourselves? And this device is a game changer. And let me be clear. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food that you eat into fuel that keeps you going. And because your metabolism is at the center of everything that your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, etc. Lumen gives you the recommendations to improve your metabolic health. And if you're a female, it can also track your cycle, as well as the onset of menopause, and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts, so then you can keep up your energy and you can stave off cravings. So if you want to stay on track with your health this holiday season, go right now to lumen.me/Cohen to get 15% off your Lumen. That's LUMEN.me/Cohen for 15% off your purchase. Lumen makes a perfect gift too. And thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. On the lawn, right? Or in the briefing room where the answer that she has to give, that we all know the true answer is not the answer that's written on the daily talking points memo.
And Michael, I think she probably will be press secretary. Again, I don't know if this one's official either, but I think she's the leading candidate. You know that guy on CNN, Scott Jennings, that Trumpy commentator? Supposedly he's making a real hard play for it too.
He's got no shot.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
He may be number two, but
Yeah.
she will be number one.
And
Again,
I think
she looks the part.
Yeah.
She's mouthy. She's a fierce defender. That's what Trump is filling this administration with: loyalists and fierce defenders.
And I'll just add to it. I think if she is the one, she'll be great, because what Trump cares about is, do you look good on TV and will you lie for me? That's it. And she will do both of those very well. She will look good on TV and she will lie for Trump. This is one of the things, Michael, that's saddened me over the years. Republicans in general have all learned to lie like Trump, because Trump gets away with it, and he's gotten away with it for 8 to 9 years. Everybody, even tangentially or involved with Trump, has he's modeled that for them. She'll be great. She'll lie for him every day.
Right. But there's going to be, again, this is where the problem comes in. And again, Sean Spicer was completely unprepared for this. He's not mouthy like she is. I mean, she's got a real set of balls, you know? She will be asked the very specific and tough questions. As a lawyer, she's a critical thinker, but you can't conflate the critical thinking with the talking points memo. And that's going to be the hard sell. You know, you ask a specific question on something that's happening. Let's just call it the immigration. They're going to go ahead. They're going to start grabbing all of these people with the young kids, the whole bit, putting them on the buses, showing them going there. And then they're going to ask her, you know, how do you know that person is from there? How do you know this and that? And she's going to be very, very straightforward and say, we don't care. We don't care. This administration doesn't care about where they're going to as long as they're out of here, because they didn't belong here in the first place. And Trump is fulfilling his promise to the American people.
I think underlying everything we're talking about, Michael, is this point that needs to be said. When Trump first got elected in 2016, he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He didn't expect to win. And he bumbled his way, and he hired people who bumbled their way through the first year or two. Trump isn't going to make that mistake now. This is why I think Trump's a hell of a lot more dangerous now. He's got 4 years. He knows what he's doing from day one, and he's going to hire people to do it.
Yep. Well, so another hire is Stephen Miller, right? Who's, going to be the deputy chief. I can't believe it. I mean, this guy who basically was a staff writer, going back in 2016, is going to be the deputy chief of staff for policy. For policy, we have seen his writing. So you understand, folks, that when you see or you hear Trump speaking or reading off the teleprompter, those are Stephen Miller's words. Yeah. Okay, scratched in some areas by Trump and changed, but those are Steve Miller's words. In fact, in 2017, March of 2017, I was in the Oval Office. It was right after the failure of the, we'll call it, immigration ban. And Trump said to me, "What did you think of it?" And I said, "Boss, seriously?" I said, "That's not an immigration ban. That's a Muslim ban. And you cannot ban Islam from the country. It's just impossible." So he goes, "Yeah, well, it was Miller and Bannon, but we'll get it right the next time." I'm like, next time? Why would you even want this? But my question that I want to ask you is, having somebody like him influence over key domestic and foreign policy with his hardline stance, his hatred for immigrants, which is crazy, and and his stance on national security. How do you think that this guy, as Deputy Chief of Staff of Policy, will shape things like refugee resettlements and the role of the United States in international coalition?
Stephen Miller's going to have a wide portfolio, and he is the darkest, ugliest intellectual visionary behind Trumpism, which is build a wall around America, keep brown and black people out. This is a white Christian country. Let's get there. Stephen Miller believes this. And you rightly say that every ugly, scripted, every ugly, bigoted, xenophobic word that Donald Trump has read the past 8 years was written by him. He's the intellectual force behind this dark, bigoted, anti-immigrant posture. And so he is a force to be contended with.
I mean, I have real concerns about, issues such as DACA, these refugee resettlements, the border wall, all of this, like you do. And I have real concerns that, his influence, which got to turn around and say one thing about it, it certainly resonates with this base. It's definitively more isolationist than
Michael,
I think that the country even wants to be.
Look, it resonates. This is what the Democrats never got. This is what MSNBC never understood. This immigration view resonates with people beyond his base. I come from the base. I'm an immigration hawk. I'm a border hawk, excuse me. But most Americans, right? Like Michael, you look at Springfield, Ohio, right? A town of 60,000 people, 20,000 Haitian migrants the last 4 years have settled there. Okay, these are mostly all good people coming here to look for a better life. But that has created problems in Springfield, Ohio. And this is being played out all over the country. Again, Trump lies about the problems. He scares people. But the Democrats ignored this thing. And this is why voters have said, screw you, Democrats. I may not like him, and he may be lying to me about their eating cats and dogs, but he's going to try to do something about it.
Yeah. Yep. Even though, the mayor of Springfield said that these people have settled in, that they're good people, that we're happy that they're here. They repopulated Springfield. I'm sure there are other areas, like California, New York, where people are able to show, that you got these people just basically sitting out on the street, and Trump and others making these allegations that they're murderers, rapists, drug dealers, that they're all gang members. Most of them come from insane asylums. I mean, it's a lot of that was fear mongering. And I'll tell you one thing, they certainly got away with it. Hey,
it worked, Michael, by the way, Michael, you're right. They got away with it. It is fear mongering, but you and I would acknowledge, and we're different politically, the system is broken. The fact that we have millions of people who come here to apply for asylum, which you can legally do, and then we let you into the country and you stay in the country for months or years before we hear your asylum claim, that's a broken system.
Agreed. My father is an immigrant, came from, originally Poland, but through Canada, after many, many years post the war. My wife is an immigrant, came from Ukraine, from a town called Chernovtsi. There are ways to get in. My grandma came from Argentina, from Buenos Aires. I mean, I come from a family of immigrants, as do probably 99.9% of all of my listeners. Hey, speaking about being an international kind of person, I want to talk about Elise Stefanik and her appointment as ambassador to the United States. Because for me, that signals a continued focus on America's global leadership, particularly on issues like Israel, where she was a hawk. Elise Stefanik doesn't particularly care for me because I've been critical of Donald Trump and because of my testifying and so on. But I do have to say that the way she conducted herself with the anti Semitism, that's the one thing about Elise Stefanik that pretty much sits in most people's mind. How do you think that her relationship with Trump's administration will affect issues like U.S. China relations, Israel, Palestine, NATO, global climate agreements, and so on?
Look, she's going to be Trump's mini-me. She will be Trump's voice. This is going to be a lot of the people who he picks. They are going to be kind of Trump lackeys, Trump loyalists. That's what she is. She's brilliant politically because, Michael, it was just about 6-7 years ago, Elise Stefanik was a moderate Republican who couldn't stand Trump. And then, wallahoo, 4 or 5 years later, she's MAGA, MAGA, MAGA on steroids. She will not be like Nikki Haley because Nikki Haley had a very different worldview than Donald Trump. Elise Stefanik will perfectly replicate and voice Donald Trump's worldview, which, look, I'm off the charts pro-Israel. So for Israel, this will be very good. For the rest of the world, though, Trump doesn't want us in NATO. Trump's going to do what Putin tells him to do when it comes to Ukraine. So I worry about all the rest.
Did you see the other day that there was a whole issue where he claimed that he had spoken to Putin in regard to, extricating from Ukraine and so on? And then Putin not only talk about being disrespectful to the president-elect. And again, I know people are saying to themselves, wait, are you sticking up for Trump now? Why are you doing that? No. What I'm doing is I'm sticking up for the president-elect of the United States of America. Whether you like the guy or you don't, you still, come January 20th, will be referring to him as Mr. President. He is our president. And I certainly, just wanted to point out that Putin turned around and said, it's an absolute lie. I've never spoken to him. And on their state-sponsored television, they ran a whole thing about Melania with all of the nude photos of her, where everybody in that studio were laughing at her and Trump and the photos and so on. That could only have occurred with the express authorization of Vladimir Putin.
Yes.
All right. Anybody that says something different doesn't understand Russia at all. It had to have come with his express approval and granting of the authority.
Hey, Michael, look, Putin has him on a string. He's always had him on a string. You and I'll be long dead, and somebody will write the book definitively of what Putin has on him. But he will be Putin's puppet. I disagree with you on that. Maybe we don't disagree. I just did a TV interview and I said this. Look, I accept the election results. He won fair and square. He is our president. But I don't wish his presidency well because I wish America well. This is a pathological liar. This is a dictator who's going to go after his political enemies, who's going to screw Ukraine. I don't wish his presidency well. I accept him as my president, but I don't like the things he's going to do to this country.
Yeah. One of the things that I constantly talk about is maybe a little bit different than you. I want to see him successful in his presidency, but I want to see him successful so long as the policies benefit America, not any specific individuals or himself. I want to see the policies that end up going forward to be better for America. And who knows, right? Will the mass deportation actually benefit America? Will having Elise Stefanik, being as a champion of Israel and being a champion against China or being
the tariffs, Michael, the tariffs.
Well, that's again, that to me, I don't even know if that's going to actually happen. He tried that in 2017. We know that everybody started bitching and complaining, so he gave waivers like to Canada because they just said, fuck it. We won't send you our aluminum. We
Yeah.
won't send you wood. Then all of a sudden the price went up. He started getting bad press and boom, he starts giving out waivers. Hey, can I move on and just ask you about this other guy, John Ratcliffe, right? Former Congress member like yourself,
Yeah.
an ardent Trump supporter and ally. This guy's now set to lead the CIA. Given his past dismissal of Russian interference in U.S. elections, and we know that Russia interferes in all of our elections. By the way, I wouldn't be shocked if we interfere in theirs as well. Not that there's anything we could do. What do you anticipate that his approach will be on national security intelligence? I mean, do you think there'll be any major shifts in how the CIA handles Russia and China and the cyber threats that they pose?
So, Michael, this scares me. The Radcliffe pick scares me. I know him. He's a total Trump lackey. He's a total Trump loyalist. I get nervous with anybody. I get nervous with Trump as president because I don't want Trump having influence over the CIA, having influence over the Justice Department, having influence over the Defense Department. I get really nervous with whoever is going to be his attorney general. I get really nervous with Radcliffe as head of CIA because I don't fundamentally trust Donald Trump with this country's secrets. And Radcliffe will pretty much do whatever Trump tells him to do. I really worry about this pick.
Yeah, well, look, he's just one of many, but yeah, I am very concerned about DOJ as well as being the only, and I'm going to say it again, something I was trying to hammer into this Kamala Harris campaign and to the Democratic Party, the fact that I am the only political prisoner held by my own country because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional rights and had the DOJ, through a willing and complicit, bloviated asshole attorney general in Bill Barr, have me unconstitutionally remanded. My biggest fear is that we're going to start seeing this become more regular than just a Michael Cohen. And my hope was that no other American should ever have to go through what I went through. You know, another person who's also obviously a Trump loyalist is Lee Zeldin. And he was then appointed now for the EPA as the EPA administrator. And to me, that's going to signal a very hard right turn on environmental policy because Zeldin is a vocal critic of climate change policy, and he's an advocate for deregulation. So really, my question to you is, what major changes in environmental policy do you foresee, particularly in relation to air and water quality standards, renewable energy incentives, and fossil fuel production?
Well, look, I like Zeldin. Yeah, he's a MAGA, but Lee Zeldin is smart. He's a quality guy. Yes, he's a Trump loyalist. And by the way, Michael, everybody who Trump hires has to be an election denier. They all are election deniers. But Zeldin is a smart guy. He's a quality guy. Yes, he's bonkers a little bit on climate change. Again, Trump doesn't know anything about climate change, but he says it's a hoax. Zeldin says that too much. But I think what you'll see at the EPA, and you and I will disagree on this a little bit, is kind of, my hope is, a common sense look at all the regulations, because there are too many regulations, even in the EPA. Smart deregulation. Probably won't get that, right? With Zeldin and Trump, it'll probably be an overreaction. But I'm not as scared about this one.
But Joe, then he won't be there long. You see, I'll give you an example.
No.
Like many years ago, there were a whole bunch of trees on one of his properties, and it was blocking the Potomac River. And he was like, "What the fuck?" Then there was a massive hurricane that came through, and a couple of the trees, and yada yada. So he said, "You know what? Fuck it, take it all down." And they said that you can't. The EPA doesn't allow you to because it's sort of marshland and so on. And he goes, "Take that shit down." And so what did they do? They took it down. Lee Zeldin doesn't follow the rules that Trump wants. And we're going to have people like Elon Musk sitting there and dictating, or Vivek Ramaswamy, turning around and saying, well, Donald, I'll tell you, there's just too much regulation in fracking and so on, or too much regulation in our, production, or the changing of the sweet crude oil to usable fuel, etc. We need to get rid of all of that so that we can actually produce more oil, so that we can sell more oil outside of the country, since we're already energy efficient and we've only started to now export for profit. We have more than everybody else combined. Let's take advantage before guys like Elon Musk create a battery that could last for a week. That's my fear. Hey, let me move on for a second to the new appointed national security advisor. That's this guy, Mike Walsh. And again, my friends, I am going to continue and just hammer it into your heads that the people that Donald is picking are textbook. They are literally central casting for the roles that he wants them to play. Mike Walsh is a former Army Green Beret. He's a congressman as well, obviously, with an incredibly strong focus on defense and counterterrorism. He fits the bill. Now, given his hawkish stance on China, his advocacy for a strong military intervention in global conflicts, how do you see his influence shaping U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East and Asia?
And let's just say, again, a solid guy, an American hero, a smart guy, but a Trump loyalist and an election denier. That needs to be said. I kind of pair this pick with Rubio a little bit. Walsh typically has been a supporter of a more muscular United States foreign policy, along with Rubio. This is a pick that the base is not enamored with, the isolationist base. So it's interesting. Again, Michael, you know Trump better than I do. Walsh and Rubio, assuming it's Rubio, these are both guys who central casting, and they're Trump loyalists, but they reflect a foreign policy that's not been Trump's. And so I don't know how that will play out. I know Trump doesn't have a core. I will say that Walsh has been kind of in the camp now. Maybe we've given Ukraine enough money, so no more money for Ukraine. I worry about that, but he'll be very pro-Israel.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Well, since we're talking about pro-Israel, how about the pick of Mike Huckabee, right, who they're going to have as the ambassador to Israel? I mean, look, Mike Huckabee is an evangelical Christian who has incredibly strong views and opinions. He's extremely pro-Israel, which so many of my Upper East Side used to be friends. Now they're frenemies. He's now, obviously, with his incredibly strong ties to this evangelical community, his unwavering support for Israel and Israeli policies. My question to you is, as the U.S. ambassador, how do you think that that'll affect U.S. diplomatic relations in the Middle East? Particularly regarding the possibility of a two-state solution and relationship with Palestinian leadership.
So let me say a couple things at the outset, and I'm going to lose your audience when I say this. And you know how I feel about Donald Trump. I opposed him with every fiber in my being. He's an existential threat to our democracy. I still believe that.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ollie. Clean, fresh nutrition your dog needs in 5 flavors that they'll absolutely flip over. You don't have to be a veterinary nutritionist to know that feeding your dog real, whole foods with minimal processing is one of the best choices that you can make for their health. A perfectly portioned, whole fresh food diet has been proven to extend your pup's life by 2.5 years. And who doesn't want more time with their best friend? With absolutely no harmful fillers, no preservatives, Ali is made in U.S. kitchens with ingredients carefully sourced from trusted growers and producers around the world. You see, because the time between Ali's gentle cooking and your dog's chowing down is minimal, they don't need preservatives to extend shelf life. With 5 protein first recipes like fresh beef with sweet potatoes, fresh turkey with blueberries, or fresh lamb with cranberries, you might start thinking, damn, my dog eats better than I do. And that's probably true when it comes to Ali. So I want to be clear about something. I actually don't have a pet. I don't have a dog, but I do have a neighbor who has the absolute cutest cavapoo that goes crazy for me whenever she sees me. And by the way, her name is Luna. So here's what you need to do. First thing that you do is you fill out Ali's 30-second quiz, and they'll create a customized meal plan based on your pup's weight, the activity level, and other health information. Ali crunches the numbers, and then they recommend the right recipe and the daily portions for your precious pup based on hundreds of thousands of real dog results. Now, for the first-time users, Ali will send out your pup's first box with 2 weeks, that's 2 weeks worth of meals and a guide on how to gradually switch them over to their new diet. Ali offers 3 meal plans to choose from. You really think that this is for a human? They offer 3 meal plans to choose from. So you can choose between a full fresh plan, fresh topper plan, or a mixed plan with their freshly baked recipes for your special fur puppy. I mean, they also have treats and supplements. So look, like I said, I don't have a pup, but I promise you that your dog will love it. In fact, I have a video of Luna chowing down the very first day that I brought it over to their apartment. So let me be clear now. Ali, they are offering a deal to let your pup taste test a personalized meal plan. So head right now to Ali.com and tell them all about your dog and use Cohen, and you'll get 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe today. So head to Ali, that's OLLIE.com, and enter code Cohen, that's me, COHEN, to get 60% off your first box. Again, that's Ali, OLLIE.com, and enter Cohen to get 60% off your first box. And they offer a clean bowl guarantee on their first box. So if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back.
I am someone, Michael, who is uber pro-Israel. I don't believe in a 2-state solution. Mike Huckabee reflects my views on Israel. I know that Trump himself doesn't. Trump's 100% transactional. He supports Israel because his base does, his evangelical base does. If you are pro-Israel like I am, this is a great pick. And look, this is the one issue that tears me apart because I can't stand Trump, but I would die. I would take a bullet for Israel. And I'm tired of America playing this silly, stupid 2-state solution game when one of the sides has no interest in even letting the other side exist, Israel. A 2-state solution is impossible. Huckabee reflects that. So you're going to get a much more pro-Israel administration.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I personally would like to have seen peace there in the Middle East. I'd like to see some form of a 2-state solution. I think the Palestinian people, deserve to have their own land. The problem becomes, of course, where, and how to do this. Again, I've never been to Israel, so it's hard for me to even.
You have to go, Michael.
I know. I'm going to go this year. I have 200 second cousins that live there, and I've never been there. My first cousins that live in Canada are actually Sabra, so I will go with my first cousin for sure. So look, I want to end this by asking you, because there's obviously more, but I want to talk about this one. And this one kind of bothers me. There's something just about her that sets me off. Kristi Noem. Secretary of Homeland Security. I don't even know where that pick actually comes from, but she brings with her a track record as governor of South Dakota. She took this insane hardline stance on immigration and COVID-19 restrictions. Again, it's almost as ridiculous as having RFK Jr. as someone who's going to be involved with Health and Human Services. It just doesn't make sense. This is a guy who turned around, and I don't even want to go into all the stupid, wacky things that this guy did. I've had him here on Mea Culpa. And if you listen, my listeners, if you go back and you listen to that episode, it'll blow you away, because here's the crazy thing. A year since I had that interview with him, nothing has changed. He still does not believe in vaccination, whether it's even the MMR, measles, mumps, rubella. He doesn't believe in any vaccination. And I'm saying to myself, holy shit, you know what's not around anymore? When was the last time you saw somebody with polio, right? I mean, seriously? So my question to you regarding Christine Owen, I have to remind you, she's the one that went outside, took her dog and shot it. And you know what? And they say, oh, well, it's only just a dog. She did it to the family goat as well. I just have issues with her. But my question that I want to ask you is, since you know her, how do you think that she'll tackle key issues like border security, the surveillance of domestic terrorism, and the increasing threat of cyber attacks against our country? I mean, this is Homeland Security. This is huge.
I know her well. I served with her. She's utterly unserious. She is all performative. The pick surprises me too, Michael. I know Trump loves the way she looks because that's what he cares about. But I no longer thought Trump really thought much of her. To put her in charge of this is a real danger. She's not a serious person. To give her this big of a portfolio, Homeland Security covers hundreds of things that the American people are not aware of. And she will be, again, familiar theme, a total Trump lackey. She'll do what Trump wants her to do. She's a true believer, Michael. She's become a true Trumpy believer. So expect some scary shit.
But this is Homeland Security. We cannot expect bad shit. Homeland Security also deals with cyber threats. For example, making sure that foreign adversaries don't end up hacking into our energy grids and then just basically shutting them off, or being able to take control over our nuclear silos and our computers. This is no joke.
Michael, so maybe this is the perfect place to end. I spent months this year out there on the ground warning people about the consequences of Trumpism. I failed. Trump won. Most Americans voted for him. So maybe, right, we're at a point where the only way we can persuade people about the consequences of Trumpism is when they experience these consequences. And with people like Noam and a bunch of these other picks, they're going to experience some pretty shitty, scary stuff.
Well, let's still hope not. Joe Walsh, my friend, my brother.
Love you, Michael Cohen.
Thank you for joining me. Appreciate you always. And obviously, I'll be calling you very, very shortly, as I do on a regular basis.
I love Michael Cohen.
Be well, pal.
Thanks, brother.